You ever notice how the things people are most afraid of are usually hiding in plain sight? 24 hours after all this blew up, the Pentagon canceled a $3.2 billion contract. The FBI took down a sitting federal judge, and Connecticut's most untouchable family found their golden boy locked up, whispering the same three words on repeat. And the whole mess started because someone underestimated a girl most people didn't even believe was real. See, her name on the school roster was Sage Morrison, just a quiet scholarship kid, right? Except her real name, her real father, and the real reason she was at Westfield Academy were all secrets dangerous enough to bring down the kind of people whose dirty laundry never sees daylight. She was the ghost everyone overlooked. And I guess you could say the first real mistake was thinking she'd stay that way. Now, I don't know about you, but I've always believed the loudest bullies in any room are usually the weakest people in it. Sterling Blackwood? Perfect example. I mean, look, the guy was Westfield royalty. 18, captain of every team that mattered, the kind of blonde confidence you only get from never being told no. His family practically owned the place his dad built an empire off government contracts. His mom reshaped the law from behind a judge's bench. Sterling grew up knowing the world would always bend to him, never the other way around. And when he spotted Sage, sitting there in the cafeteria with her duct-taped backpack and those worn-out shoes, he saw prey. He had no idea she'd been waiting her whole life for someone like him to make the wrong move. Let me back up a sec. You got to picture Westfield to understand this. The place is old money-think stone towers, oil portraits of dead benefactors, marble floors echoing with gossip and privilege. Scholarship kids, all 12 of them out of 800, stick to the East Wing where the paint's peeling and the microscopes barely work. Everyone else? Summered on Martha's Vineyard, skied the Alps, wore watches worth more than Sage's family car. In a place like that, being invisible isn't just a skill at survival. And Sage, she perfected it, moving like a shadow. Her life, though, wasn't built on silence by choice. She'd learned to read a room like a battlefield, every exit mapped, every threat cataloged, her every move calculated. But nobody at Westfield knew what I knew, that this quiet girl had knelt 3 years ago at her father's grave in Arlington, promising to finish what the Army said was just a training accident. Colonel James Morrison had uncovered fraud that climbed straight up to people with badges and black budgets. He died for it, and his daughter inherited not just his stubbornness, but his unfinished mission. Changing her name was easy. Witness protection sees to that. But what Sage wanted wasn't protection. It was preparation. So for 3 years, she trained Krav Maga, threat assessment, everything her father's old friend Rebecca Sterling, now posing as the school's PE coach, could teach her about surviving and fighting back. Sterling Blackwood, meanwhile, kept perfecting his own art. His hobby? Identifying the vulnerable, isolating them, then breaking them down emotionally, physically, sometimes worse. He collected evidence, not for blackmail, just for fun. Breaking people made him feel untouchable. But what he didn't know was someone had started collecting evidence on him. Sage had been documenting every move, every word, every escalation. And it all hit the fan that morning in the chemistry lab. Sage, as always, took a back corner spot, her months-long project on military compounds perfectly organized. Sterling rolled in with his entourage Madison, the enabler with her family's pharma fortune, and Dakota, legacy, student racked with guilt. Sterling spotted Sage and made a beeline. "Look who's pretending to be a scientist," he sneered, just loud enough for the others to hear. His hand hovered over her work, and in that moment, you could feel the temperature drop in the room. He didn't have to say it, everyone knew if he trashed her project, his family's money would smooth it over. But Sage stared him down. "I know the difference between access and belonging," she said, voice steady, and just like that, the mask slipped. Sterling's face hardened. His hand swept her project to the floor, glass breaking, chemicals mixing, months of work gone in a puddle. The whole class went silent. Now, most people would have folded. "Sage?" She started recording. "For the record, Sterling Blackwood just destroyed my research," she said loud enough for 30 other kids to hear. Sterling turned pale. The dynamic shifted. Phones came out. His smirk vanished. He tried to bluster, to threaten, But the tide was turning. "You think anyone cares about the word of scholarship kid against mine?" he snapped. But everyone saw him crack. After that, things moved fast. Sage collected what she could, but she wasn't just rebuilding her project, she was closing a trap. See, she'd been sending everything to federal agents. This wasn't just about bullying anymore. It was the final piece in a much bigger investigation. Rebecca found Sage in the gym later, saw she was ready for whatever came next. "You know this gets real now," Rebecca warned. Sage just nodded. He picked the battlefield. "All I have to do is finish it." Neither of them realized Sterling was already calling home, his father instructing him to neutralize the threat. No evidence, no witnesses, no loose ends. Sterling felt unstoppable, but he was finally scared. The showdown came at lunch. Sterling orchestrated the perfect scene, surrounded by students, cameras rolling, planning to humiliate Sage one last time. He sat across from her, insulted her background, tried to bait her, but Sage matched him word for word. The room was tense, nobody dared breathe. Then Sterling snapped, grabbing her collar, tearing her shirt. That's when Sage moved. In a blur, she landed a textbook-perfect kick to his solar plexus, years of training compressed into a single, shattering blow. Sterling hit the floor, gasping, all eyes on him. Sage stood over him and spoke, "For my father." Every phone in the room caught it. Within minutes, the video went viral. "For my father" became a trending hashtag. The FBI moved in. Federal agents arrested Sterling, Madison, and Dakota. His parents' world unraveled, contracts canceled, indictments coming. The school's principal tried to claim it was a simple student dispute, but then Special Agent Chin announced, on camera, that this was the result of a 3-year undercover sting. Sterling's world collapsed in front of everyone. In the days that followed, Sage's true story made headlines. Her real name came out, her father's heroism recognized, her own courage lionized. She refused interviews and movie deals, just released a single statement. "For every kid who's ever been made to feel powerless, your voice matters. Your truth matters." Sometimes, when words aren't enough, action is. Not for revenge, but for justice. The Blackwoods fell prison, disgrace, an empire built on intimidation exposed for what it was. Westfield changed. Accountability replaced silence. And Sage returned, months later, to Arlington, whispering to her father's headstone, "I finished it." Justice was served. They finally know dead men's daughters never forget. But the world, it keeps spinning. Survivors reached out to Sage. New cases opening. Her legend growing, one girl's stand turning into a rallying cry for thousands. The age of untouchable privilege took a hit, and bullies everywhere started looking over their shoulders. Sage Morrison's story? It didn't end in that cafeteria. It began there. So if you're out there carrying pain, feeling like you got to stay silent to survive, maybe it's time to speak up. Justice isn't about getting even, it's about making sure the next kid doesn't have to fight alone. Let's hear it. Where do you stand? Is justice ever truly served? Or are we just chipping away at the edges of something bigger? Drop your story below, join the conversation, and if you believe in standing up even when you're scared, hit that subscribe. One voice can spark a revolution. What are you ready to say?